All right, let's hop into it, man. It's five-star matchup, so you know what time it is. I'm talking Steelers versus Jets, the five most important matchups for the Steelers to be successful come Sunday. So, man, before we start it off, man, make sure you like this video. Also, subscribe if you have not subscribed to the channel, and more importantly, hit that notification bell, please. So this first matchup that I want to talk about, though, is Alex Highsmith versus Connor McDermott. Now, Connor McDermott is the starting left tackle for the New York Jets. He traditionally isn't their starting tackle. He's been, their backup, third, fourth string type of guy. But because of injuries, he's been forced to play. And as soon as he came into the game last weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals, he struggled with speed rushes, power rushes, just really couldn't stop Trey Hendrickson or Sam Hubbard in certain instances. But when you're talking about Alex Highsmith and why would I be so excited about him in this matchup? Well, first off, the homie is leading the league in sacks. Let's put some respect on that, 4.5 of those things. And he's also coming off of a nice performance against the Cleveland Browns where he had 1.5 sacks. So when we're talking about Alex Highsmith, some of the things that we've been seeing from him this season is what? The explosiveness, the spin move continues to be very, very awesome. We saw that on display last week. But more importantly, man, we're seeing him finish his rushes. He's not just getting pressures or QB hits. He's actually getting sacks, which is critical for this team in the absence of TJ Watt. So when you're looking at this matchup, why do we need this? Because number one, this is a matchup that Alex Highsmith, whenever it's a passing situation, he should dominate this matchup. Now, the Jets are going to be smart, and they're going to do some things to help out Connor because he struggles really, really bad at this stage in his career when you're having him just single block guys in the pass rush. So I do anticipate them giving him help. But whenever they don't, and there are going to be some of those opportunities, Alex Highsmith has to win. We have to feel his impact this week, man, because that's going to be critical for the Steelers to be successful come Sunday. Now, the second matchup I want to talk about is this Jets rushing attack versus the Steelers front seven on defense. Now, when we're talking about this Jets rushing attack, it's unique in the sense that they average over 4.3, 4.4 yards as a team on the season per rush attempt. When you look at their two rushers, Breece Hall and Michael Carter. Michael Carter is averaging 4.4 yards per carry. I think Breece Hall is averaging 5.3 yards per carry. Those are really good numbers, really good yards per attempt. Their biggest issue, though, is the lack of attempts. When you look at them on the season, that rushing attack, that tandem is very productive, but because the Jets offense falls behind, or just as a team, they fall behind early in these games, they're forced to abandon the run. And one of the things that I think could really make them good is lean on that run game a little bit more, but because they continue to fall behind early in some of these games, they're not able to really lean on it and stay as balanced as they would like. But why is this important? Well, we know we're coming off of a performance where we weren't the best against the run. Obviously, we saw the Cleveland Browns, what Nick Chubb was able to do on the ground, and ultimately how that had our defense railing, so to speak. So in this particular matchup, it's important that our front seven dominates this element right here because we know in terms of our D-line versus that Jets offensive line, we're going to have the competitive advantage. But they are good run blockers. They do win the line of scrimmage typically. These are some of the things that when we're talking about the Steelers D-line and the Steelers linebackers in terms of that front seven, when we are doing those things and we do it at a high level, it looks great. We smash the run, but at the same time, we have seen where we could be inconsistent and that could leave the door open. So this is one of those ones where it's going to be good on good in this element, so to speak. But if we can make them one-dimensional, if we can stop this run game and not allow Breece Hall and Michael Carter to get going, now you put a lot more of that responsibility on Zach Wilson, who's coming back from injury. And we know how that goes at times, man. So smash that run, man. We got to make that happen. Now, the third matchup that I want to talk about on the five-star matchups is the Steelers offensive line versus the Jets pass rush. Now, if you're looking at how the Steelers offensive line has been playing this year, man, something that has come up a couple of times is how well they have been protecting. The time they've been allowing Mitch to have at quarterback. The just complete 180 from what we were seeing at times during the preseason. Well, in this particular matchup, I think we should have similar results. I think that this offensive line should be able to keep Mitch clean in his pocket because this Jets pass rush, it's just not very explosive. It's not very scary. They don't have a pass rush in the sense where you're pointing to certain individuals and saying, hey, these guys win one-on-ones. This isn't when we're talking about Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard from week 1. This is going to be more so in line with what we talked about in week 2 versus the New England Patriots. When the Jets pass rush, when they're winning, it's a lot of stunts and twists. It's a lot of games. So more so for the Steelers offensive line, communication becomes at a premium. Got to communicate. Don't chase anything because they love to run games. I haven't seen a ton of them just having a guy lining up in front of a tackle, lining up in front of a guard or a center and just saying, hey, man, I'm better than you. I'm going to beat you in my one-on-one. We do that a lot in Pittsburgh when you talk Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, obviously TJ Watt when he's healthy, Larry Ogunjobi. Those guys win one-on-ones. This Jets pass rush, that is not how they operate. So if this Steelers offensive line can just communicate, stay fundamentally sound, I think that this is one of those ones where we could really take advantage because I do feel like the best way to attack this Jets team, man, they give it up in the air, man. They definitely give it up in the air. And I think that this is something that we could exploit, but it's going to be critical that we protect first. But I like this element of it for our Steelers offensive line versus that Jets pass rush. Now, the fourth matchup, and this is the one that I am extremely excited about. I just don't know how much of it I'm going to see, but I only need to see a handful to know what's good, okay? I'm talking George Pickens versus Sauce Gardner, baby. Come on now. Rookie versus rookie. Top pick versus top pick. I mean, both of these guys have shown, just in their brief, debuts in the NFL, that they are good enough to be big-time players in this league. Sauce Gardner coming off a really impressive performance versus Cincinnati Bengals, where he was matched up at times versus Jamar Chase, versus T. Higgins, versus Tyler Boyd, and he was holding his own, was even making some plays in that sense. But at the same time, he's mortal. He was getting beat at times. It wasn't this perfect performance where nothing was allowed, no catches were given or nothing like that. And he did give up a nice deep pass on him as well to T. Higgins, man. And T. Higgins, man, amazing catch, man. Took a nice shot at the end of it as well, man. Tough dude right there. But when we're talking about George Pickens, well, what did we just see on Thursday night, man? George came into his own, did he not? Big time catch, man. Highlight catch, a catch that has been played on every type of network, social media, your mama, your cousin, your friends, everybody seeing this vid, and rightfully so. But I think that's also just the start of this thing. I think we're going to see more of that, more intentional throws to him downfield, 50-50 balls in this particular matchup when he is matched up against Sauce. Man, I think you take those shots. I think you take those chances because to me, George is one of those big-time receivers that can make those plays consistently. So until proven otherwise, until Sauce proves that he can consistently stop those deep throws, man, when George Pickens is over there, you take those chances, man. And that's one of the things that you got George Pickens for. So I'm rolling with my man right there, baby. But that's one of the matchups right there, baby. I cannot wait to watch, man. That is good on good. Now, the fifth and final matchup for today's five-star matchups in this Jets versus Steelers game, it's all about the turnover battle, man. When you're looking at both of these teams, man, both of these teams are good in certain areas on paper, but they struggle in certain areas. Both of these teams aren't designed to really come from behind. Both of these teams are really designed to stay balanced and not get forced into a shootout. But with both of these teams, turnovers matter. When we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, we know week 1, we got out of that stadium because we had, 5 turnovers. It was a huge advantage for us. That second game against the Patriots, we struggled, right? Put the ball in the ground, and then obviously we had the interception. We lost the turnover battle. We saw how that game went. Now, in this Cleveland Brown game, yes, we technically lost the turnover battle, but we know it was at the end of the game where that fumble really was insignificant, so to speak, but we did not win the turnover battle. We were not able to generate any type of splash, no type of interceptions or fumbles. So when you're talking about us, we know the turnover battle matters. The turnover margin matters. When we are +1, when we win the turnover battle, we win the game typically. Well, similar things can be said about this Jets team as well, man. You look at them over there, 3 games. The game where they broke even, it's the game where they won. And that was obviously against the Cleveland Browns, which is still a game they should have lost. It was just crazy in terms of how they won it at the end. And I look at them recovering an onside kick as essentially you're still in a possession. So that's the equivalent of a turnover. So, yes, that was the game that they won their turnover battle. But other than that, Cincinnati, they lost the turnover battle. In the opener, they lost the turnover battle. And when you're doing those type of things, this team, it shows. They struggle in that element. But I don't think that that's something that's going to just go away, because it's not just one player that puts it on the ground or is turning the ball over. Obviously, Joe Flacco, he has the interceptions, but he also gets the strip sacks. Well, similar things can be said about Zach Wilson, who's going to be making his 2022 NFL regular season debut this week. But then you look at Michael Carter. He's put the ball on the ground. These receivers, they put the ball on the ground. So as a whole, this team does not value the ball in the same type of manner that we talk about here in Pittsburgh. And this is something that I think if the Steelers defense can do what they've been doing this season, getting turnovers. Week 3 was that outlier in terms of that Browns game, them not being able to force anything. But other than that, this team has been prone and shown that they can create splash defensively. So for the Steelers defense, they need to continue to do that. Create that splash, because you're going to get opportunities. This Jets offense, they are feast or famine. They like to take shots down the field. So make plays on the ball. Make plays on the ball. And then whenever they're running these rocks, man, when it's Michael Carter, when it's Breece Hall, man, attack that ball. Strip at it, because they have shown that they will put it on the ground as well. But either way, man, those are the 5-star matchups for this week's Jets and Steelers game. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on some of these matchups, or if you have a matchup that you might be having your eyes on. But either way, I appreciate you for tuning in. And until next time, baby, peace.